These in front of me are a pile of dead hornets, and if you live in Europe, you've probably seen something like this before. Or maybe some of the homemade traps people are using to catch and kill them. But what's going on here? And why could this solution be worse than the problem itself? Native to Southeast Asia, these hornets arrived in France in 2004, probably as stowaways in shipping containers from China. With an estimated average expansion rate of 40 kilometers a year, it should have taken 20 years to reach this region. But in Europe, the wasps found ideal conditions. The lack of competition and few predators allowed them to spread way quicker than expected. The first time they were spotted here was in 2012, just 8 years after arriving on the continent. That means they've been expanding for almost 100 kilometers a year. Now, 20 years later, they have spread to most of the continent, and they represent an economic, environmental, and health problem. The Asian hornet is a predatory wasp that specializes on honeybees. Asian bees have developed strategies to protect themselves against them, but here in Europe, the hornets are wreaking havoc. If we check the numbers published by the government of Spain, the number of honey farms has increased by 55% in the last 14 years. But the honey production in the country has been stationary for that period. So this is causing at least a clear inefficiency in the production. And honey farms are using methods to protect their bees, so probably the wild populations are suffering way more. My grandfather was a beekeeper, and I remember he spent his last years trying to protect his hives against the Asian hornet. When he passed away in 2019, there was only one hive left, and it didn't last long after that. Now, this situation is not just affecting the honey industry, but the agricultural sector is also suffering the consequences. These hornets are opportunistic feeders, and they enjoy eating ripe fruit, reducing the crop yield. And remember, they prefer to eat bees, main pollinators for this industry. And if environmental and economical damage were not enough, they can be quite aggressive. The news reports of people being killed by hornet stings is increasing dramatically. They are not attacking us, we are not on their diet. But when they feel they have to protect their nest, that's a whole different story. They start their colonies in low shrubs, where they build small nests. After a few months, they abandon those and create a new and bigger one on top of the trees. It's during that first stage when they can be very dangerous, when their nest is close to the ground. Most of the fatal interactions happen when someone is clearing a field and they get too close to an unnoticed nest. So with very little effort from European governments, the people started to make homemade traps to catch them, to try to fight against them. As you can see, these traps are so simple yet so effective catching hornets. They are made with plastic bottles. The entrances are located on the sides, so once the wasps get inside, it's difficult for them to find the exit. They try to go up, until tired, they drown in the liquid that worked as a bait. Since these traps are homemade, there's not a fixed recipe for the bait. People use beer, sugary water, syrup, yeast, or other things with a sweet or fermented scent. But there's a twist. These traps are not species specific, and the native European hornets are falling in them. Both animals are very similar in appearance and behavior, and they are not at risk just because of the traps. When people cross paths with one of these animals, they kill it thinking it's an Asian hornet. I mean, imagine you're receiving all-day news about how terrible the giant killer Asian wasps are, and suddenly a massive hornet gets into your house with deafening sound. It can be very intimidating. And most of the people don't even know there's native hornets in Europe that played important roles in our ecosystems. The problem is these hornets were already threatened, and they are protected by law in some countries. And now, they are not only facing an aggressive competitor, but they are also being trapped in mass. And they are one of the very few animals that literally fight against the Asian hornet. So if you are in Europe, this is how you can tell the difference between these two species. Asian hornets are smaller and darker. For me, the key difference is the abdomen. In the native species, you can clearly see it's mostly bright yellow. The Asian hornet's abdomen is darker, and only in the last segments there's a lighter coloration. But the color is not so yellow, but more of an orangish one. I'm not criticizing the traps people are doing, because this is a desperate answer to the inefficiency of the European governments. But after 20 years, the Asian hornet is widespread to Europe, so its eradication seems unlikely to accomplish. Here in Galicia, there were over 55,000 reports of nests in 2023 alone. What should we do in this situation? I don't have the answer, I'm afraid. What's more valuable? The life of the individuals that will fight with all their will to survive? Or the ecosystems or species we want to preserve, even though we know they are dynamic systems that will change over time?